Hello and welcome. My name's Heather. I'm a registered professional counselor, and today I'm finally going to be watching Love is Blind Season 2, the reunion episode. I feel like I've been waiting forever to watch this episode, so thank you so much for being patient. I know that this is a highly anticipated video. Let's dive right in.
I definitely felt like betrayed by both Shayne and Shaina, quite honestly. The fact Shayne said, if you told me 2 days earlier, it could have been, potentially different. You walked in saying you were supportive of our relationship and you used to like him, and that was it. Mm-hmm. So I just think seeing that and feeling like you were dishonest was, really tough.
I'm sorry for that. No, I am.
I can imagine that is really difficult for Natalie to have watched, especially if she had no idea that Shaina went into the room to talk to Shayne first and that was the conversation they had. I can understand why she would feel betrayed in some ways. And I also think she did a really good job just communicating her feelings, right? She took ownership. She said, I felt betrayed. It was very dishonest and she felt hurt. And she was able to functionally communicate that to Shaina. And Shaina, again, took ownership. She apologized. So that's good to see. Natalie's not calling Shaina shisty or anything like that. She was being very clear and very forward with her communication of how she felt. That gave Shaina the opportunity to be able to apologize. Whether or not Natalie accepts her apology is up to her. Maybe it will take some time to be able to fully accept it and be able to move on. But again, so far everything has been pretty civil.
My whole mindset was focusing on proposing to Natalie the whole time, and then I hear Shaina's voice, and we haven't talked for days. I'm not mad about the situation, but it's like it was my day with Natalie. And I was upset about the fact that it just fucked with my mind a little bit.
It's great for Shayne to be able to express what he was going through, and it sounds like for him, he just got really caught up in the moment, and he also mentioned that he felt that he was essentially robbed of this magical moment that he was supposed to have with Natalie, and in a sense that was true, right? And he didn't really talk about it, but he still reacted in a way where he was very dramatic, and he knows he's dramatic, and maybe that was just his way of processing those feelings and those emotions. And I guess he could have just told Shaina, thanks for letting me know, but it's just too late, and I need to go propose to Natalie now, so can you get out of the pod? I guess he could have said that too. I guess he also just was going through quite the roller coaster of emotions and just the very intense process. Also on Shaina's end, she didn't have to go and tell Shayne exactly what she was feeling because, again, she made her decision. It was already a little too late, but I get where she's coming from, where she didn't want to live without having any regrets, and so she wanted to say her piece, and then that way she can either move on with her life or be able to know exactly where she stands with Shayne or be able to get that off her chest. And I mean, timing was not great, let's just say that.
Felt like she could have said no. I
yeah,
didn't
totally
sense the hesitation in the moment, but looking back, she seemed very hesitant. I didn't think that it was literally asking him, this is your last chance.
No, not at all. That wasn't my intention.
You used me as a backup. You were seeing if he would flip last second and ask you to marry him instead of Natalie.
I told you what happened, so the fact that you're playing
why did you want the meeting?
What?
Why did you want the meeting?
So it's pretty evident that Kyle is still hurt about what happened, and again, probably because it's his first time watching the footage and not being able to get a clear explanation from Shaina, even though she said that she's already told him why she went to meet Shayne. It's normal for when someone is feeling betrayed or feeling hurt to kind of go into this rumination mode where we are like, oh, logically they said this, but no, I don't believe them, and I think this is the real reason. And that's why he was saying oh no, you wanted to go to Shayne and try to get him to change his mind and to marry you instead, and you leveraged me. So it's normal when we are feeling these levels of pain and hurt to try to make the other person essentially the bad guy. And so we come up with these different stories and these different narratives to support the claim of this person's the villain and I'm the good person and like I did everything right and she did everything wrong. Again, totally normal, just because this is just the way our brains work, right? Because we try to make sense of what's going on. And it's easier to kind of villainize the other person as opposed to thinking that, okay, well, she's just not that into me, or unfortunately things just didn't work out and we gave it our best shot and unfortunately like it's not meant to be. So instead of thinking this way, we try to villainize the other person. Anger is a secondary emotion, and it's easier to feel angry than it is to feel those feelings of hurt or pain or rejection. So we just try to focus our attentions on villainizing the other person because that just fuels our feelings of anger without having to sit in the feeling of rejection. The downside of having these types of narratives and villainizing our exes essentially is that it builds a lot of mistrust when we go into future relationships.
I should have said no right away to
Right.
you. 100%. But I did feel
No
very...
one put a gun to your head to do anything.
I actually do take full ownership. I could have avoided a whole bunch of drama and mess.
Yeah.
100%. And I'm owning that.
So the
I
odds
couldn't
are
move
better.
forward unless I was honest with Shayne, which, again, I apologize to Natalie. I'm so sorry that I downplayed the situation to you. I wish I would have been more forthright.
So Shaina is essentially apologizing to everyone in this love square. There's not much that she can really do except to apologize and hope that everyone can eventually move forward. Now, it's not necessarily to say that the point of apologizing to people is to have them forgive her or forgive the behaviors. Sometimes people need that sense of closure or to hear that she did something wrong and she admits it and that they were right. I wish that she apologized to Kyle a little bit more. It's definitely more of a surface level apology, which is that she's acknowledging what she did wrong, which is good. And she's saying she's taking full ownership. She's saying, I'm sorry. But there's not much we can really do moving forward because we don't know if she's going to continue having certain friendships or relationships or interactions with particular people. Now, if she was to, for example, continue her relationship with Kyle, and if they were to continue dating, obviously that apology wouldn't be sufficient enough for the other person to really start the healing process or to be able to forgive them. So what can be helpful when it comes to apologies, generally speaking, is to be able to really express those feelings of remorse, and also sometimes it can help to be able to explain a little bit of your side. Again, not to justify whatever it is you did that wronged the other person or hurt the other person, but sometimes just giving a little bit of context for what was going on for you can help them understand it. Again, not to justify. The other thing about being able to share and understand what that context is that it allows the other person to know that you've put some form of thought or reflection into understanding your behavior, and then that way you can try to avoid that in future interactions and to avoid hurting that other person again. So it doesn't necessarily work in this situation with Shaina and Kyle, or even Shaina and Natalie, because I don't know if they're going to be friends after this. But generally speaking, in terms of apologies, there's a few more steps that can make the apology a little bit more effective.
I could have avoided a lot by just saying no, and I definitely should have just said no. But I was very confused. And again, I did have feelings for you. It wasn't like I did not care about you. And I'm really sorry that it was let on more than it should have been.
Okay, so again, she's apologizing a bit more to Kyle. We could see that he's still very upset by the situation just by the way that he's sitting, he's shaking his head, he said it was ridiculous earlier. And so again, it just might take time for the person who hurt the other person, in this case Shaina, to just continue to apologize, to try to reassure them. Again, if they were continuing their relationship, it would be a little bit different. But I'm glad that she did say, like, yeah, she was confused at the time. Maybe she felt more so pressured that she had to say yes. I would be curious to know if other people who are in Shayna's situation, what they would have done. Because I could also see a large number of people reacting the same way as Shayna would. Not because she is manipulative or vindictive or she's a villain or she was doing it on purpose or anything like that, but it's just when you're put in this situation, you know, you don't really know what the best course of action is in the moment, and you kind of just go with the flow, and you kind of hope that eventually with time you kind of figure it out. And that's what we saw over the next couple of episodes. Is she was very honest with Kyle and said like, hey, I don't know if this is going to work out. And he's like, oh, really? Well, we have to have faith. It's not to say that she was being a narcissist or she was being vindictive or anything like that. I think that she was just put in a really tough position. It was a lot of pressure. There's a roller coaster of emotions going on, and she made a decision at the time, and she's able to look back on it now and say like, yeah, that was the wrong call, and is able to reflect and take ownership of that, because that's all we can really do as human beings. I think when people watch these reality shows, it's much easier to say objectively like, oh, she should have done this and she should have done that, or he shouldn't have done this. But the reality is that if we were in those positions, going through the same variables with the same factors, with the same amount of pressure, we would probably make very similar decisions as these people did, because we're all humans. We make mistakes. We learn from them. And that's what we're essentially seeing here.
The drive to continue on the show was a driving factor, I think, for Shaina and Kyle.
If we're talking about appearance, it would have looked way more better on my side if I said no
Totally.
right away.
If you had just said no, it would have saved so much trouble.
100%. So,
Oh my gosh.
Shayne, you seem horrified.
I just can't believe the words that are coming out.
Yeah, I'm a little shocked.
I can't.
A little shocked too.
Keeps it real.
Now, I see where Shake is coming from. I'm sure there are some people that might have thought that Shaina just really wanted to go to Mexico, and that's why she said yes. I'm sure there are people who think that. It could have been a possibility, but I don't see why he needed to bring that up. Why did he have to say that? Why did, like, because he wants to try to keep it real? Why is that your responsibility, Shake? Like, it's not. For Shaina, if she felt that way, she could have said it. But I think she explained herself really well, which is that, well, if I would have said no, I would have saved all the pain that I caused Kyle and all the drama. And also, I would have looked better in the show. I wouldn't be depicted as this horrible villain that led someone she actually cared about and had feelings for. She wouldn't have let him on.
I'm going to say what everyone's thinking at home.
Nobody's thinking that.
Somebody say that. Somebody say that.
Big favorite.
Do not put me into your words at
Oh
all.
wow. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, what's going on? So it seems like all the other cast members already have some issues with Shake prior to this reunion episode. It's not really fair for him to make these assumptions about someone else's behaviors. And I think that's the main issue that we've been seeing and the other cast members have been seeing, is that he's just making these wide generalizations of other people's feelings or other people's experiences or their motives behind their experiences. And you can't really do that. You can't really say that. And that's why when I do these reaction videos, I'm always saying it's possible, or maybe, or I think. And it's always based on the assumption that I'm making speculations for educational purposes, as opposed to saying that this particular person is XYZ and putting them in a box. So I guess that's what everyone is having an issue with. Gosh.
We'd all like it if I just shut up after the statement, right?
I think we'd all like if you just shut up in general.
Hannah early called
I'll
it.
be honest with you guys, this has been an incredible experience, but I've had a very tough time taking it seriously.
I feel like Shake is also just putting on a bit of a show, because why does he feel the need to have to say all these things and to keep it real, except for the fact that he's putting on an act? And I don't know if it's because maybe he wants more airtime, maybe he's trying to overcompensate for the fact that he showed a different, more vulnerable side on the show.
You're interrupting a lot of people and hurting a lot of people right now.
Yes, this is true.
By the way, there is no right or wrong way to find love. There is zero right or wrong way.
There we go. Thank you, Nick.
They found it and they're happy for the rest of their lives.
Make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more analysis videos. Feel free to check out my other therapist reviews videos, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Until then, be kind and love yourself.